such a great singer, Tom. Let's do 6 takes. And then that's done. They were like, no, better, do it again.
It's kind of you just taking a massive swipe at the music industry.
You need to have time to go and live your life, to have something to say.
Hello and welcome to the Eras podcast, where we get into the music and moments that have made your favourite artists who they are today. I'm your host, Abbie McCarthy, and my guest today has got one hell of a voice. The amazing Tom Walker, winner of British Breakthrough Act at the Brit Awards back in 2019. His debut album went to #1 that same year. And after 5 years away, perfecting that highly anticipated second album, he's back. And we are going to get into it all next. Welcome to the Eras podcast, Tom Walker. How are you, my friend?
I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, you?
Yeah, good. Great to see you. It's been a minute. So
It has. Pleasure.
Let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
A young Tom Walker.
Yeah.
With your first musical memory. What would that be?
I went to see AC/DC with my dad when I was 9.
Amazing.
And he basically tried to get tickets for Manchester, couldn't. And then the only tickets that hadn't sold out were in Paris. And he was just like, right, we're going to Paris. I was so young at the time, but I remember it so vividly. Like, it was in the Stade de France, which is like an open air stadium, and like the sun was going down, and then everyone put their devil horns on, and there was like 2 burlesque ladies that were blown up like 100 feet in the air either side of the stage on like strings.
Wow.
I just thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Especially at 9 years old, you must have been sorry,
what?
Yeah,
and after that moment, I was begging my dad for a guitar. I was just like, please, I want to be Angus Young, basically. So yeah.
Oh, so you wanted to be a guitarist first?
Yeah. I didn't actually start singing until real late. Like, I was 19. I was late to the party when I started singing.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because, like, your voice is what makes you stand out in a way. Like, it's so distinct, isn't it? That raspy, now signature Tom Walker belt.
Yeah.
But did it take you a while then to actually find your singing voice or maybe feel comfortable in it?
Yeah, so I only started singing because I did a degree in songwriting when I moved to London, which is a real degree, if you believe it or not. And I basically didn't know anyone when I moved to London. You had to hand in a certain amount of songs every term. So I just started singing them because I didn't know any singers. And my tutor at the time, who's like an amazing songwriter in the industry now, called Jez Ashurst. He's just an amazing songwriter.
Because you've worked with him since.
I have. I've done loads of stuff with him. I love writing with him. He's one of my favourite people to write with. Yeah, he's incredible. But he kind of like said to me like, look, you've got a really like unique voice. And this was early days. Like, I couldn't pitch for anything. I mean, but there was something there, and you could see the songwriting as well. So he really pushed me to like keep singing my own songs and not get other singers to do it, kind of thing.
But it was only really because of him that you thought, go on then.
Yeah. He really spurred me on and like gave me the confidence to be like, you're actually all right at this. Like, you should try harder. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you had his support, and were your family always really supportive? Because obviously music is a tricky path. I mean, I'm sure they're obviously always rooting for you because they love you, but were they ever like, do you maybe fancy doing something else a bit easier?
I think my dad, who's like quite a pragmatic person, was like, yeah, sure, do music, like do what makes you happy, but also you should really have a plan B. Because, you know, not everybody gets to do music. But he was like, you know, bought me my first guitar. I managed to go like halves with him on a bass that I bought off my mate from school. Like, he really helped me get like a few instruments together. And then one day he just came home with this like little portable studio like this big that recorded onto like tape at the time. And he didn't know how to use it, but he was just like, take this, have it, figure out how to use it. You keep forgetting all those guitar riffs that you record, like that you had last week. You should start recording them so you can save all your ideas for the future. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So he really pushed me, and he could see how much joy it brought me and how much happiness it brought me. Yeah. So he was really, he was amazing on that front.
Yeah, does he remind you of that? You know, that was like almost like your introduction into like production, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Like recording over and over, putting songs together.
Yeah, and that kind of went, you know, before, I guess like between like 14 and 19, like he bought me that little 4-track recorder, and then eventually I saved up for like a slightly better one, and then I got like a computer with Pro Tools, and like it all just kind of snowballed from that original thing. And then I did learn to produce, and when I got to uni, I was one of the few people that knew how to produce. So he really, really helped me, and I just locked myself in my room at home for like 5 years trying to figure out how to produce. Because at the time, like there was like really YouTube was in its early days, and not many people were doing stuff on there, and none of my mates in my tiny little town that I grew up in did music. And at school, there was a few people into it, but none of them had gone as far as like, you know, trying to record their own music. So yeah, I felt like I was a kind of a step ahead when it came to that in uni. I swapped so much production work for like theory work with people because I couldn't do theory and they couldn't do production. So that pretty much got me my degree, if I'm honest.
And theory, has that ever clicked with you?
I just don't get it. I'm like, I don't know. It's basically maths and I'm really bad at maths.
Yeah, no thanks.
Like shocking. And I'm really good at remembering patterns. So like all the chords, I can just see the shape and remember it all. But I can't really understand music theory. I mean, maybe I've not had the right teacher for it or something, but it seemed to make sense to everybody else in that music school but me. But then I can hear something and I can play it on guitar. And there was this like crazy ear training thing where they would be like behind a piano where you couldn't see the keys, play like, you know, 10 notes and be like, which chord is this? And I'm like, well, can I have my guitar to like figure it out? And they're like, no, you just got to do it by ear.
What?
And like so many people were good at that. And I was like,
that's mad.
But it was
isn't
mostly piano players who were great at it because they spend so much time on that instrument. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was terrible at that.
But a very talented musician, thank God. And obviously people will know you now as a very successful singer-songwriter, but let's dig into what it took for you to get here.
Yeah.
What jobs did you do before music was like even on the cards?
Oh God. I mean, how far are we going back? I had a paper round as a kid. You know
let's go right back.
I had a paper round, and then after that I worked in kitchens for years, like started on the pot wash, then did like starters, then worked in a pub where you know, at one point the chef like walked out Christmas Day and we had to like cover it, like me and a few mates. It's so stressful.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to London, I worked in a few different kitchens. I was so bad at that job. I don't know how I got hired, like honestly. And I don't know how I like didn't get fired because like, I don't know, I was just rubbish at it, if I'm honest. And I kind of was a bit passionate about it, but not really. It was just to get money. So I didn't really ever enjoy it. And then I did a photo booth job, which was like basically taking 9 flight cases in a Renault Clio to somebody's wedding or party or event or whatever, building said photo booth and then babysitting all the people so they didn't steal the fancy dress while they were drunk. Oh, is it this petrol company? I won't name the company. But it was one of their events and there was this guy and he was so horrible. And he was so drunk and he kept stealing all the fancy dress and like winding me up. I just took him to one side and I was like, I'm going to find your office tomorrow and I'm going to come to your office and I'm going to act like this in front of all of your staff and you are going to see what it's like being with you right this moment. And then he walked away and just left me alone. But it was kind of all right. It was an all right job and it was only ever like 5-hour events. They'd have the photo booth for 3 hours, so like an hour for setup either side. So it allowed me to like do music in the day, like all day, which was amazing. So yeah, and it paid 120 quid a go, which at the time was unbelievable.
Was money, right? Yeah.
Unbelievable amount of money. I felt like I was rich doing that job 4 days a week. So yeah.
So when did things start to sort of like click into place then? Like when did you connect with like your managers and when did a record label come on board?
So it was actually one of the songwriting tutors I had in the 3rd year of the degree at LCCM had sent one of my tunes to my now manager, Simon. But I hadn't actually produced that song. It was one of my mates who I was at uni with called Nima, and he was in a band called Wilk and Miskey, and they'd just been like signed to Ireland, and he'd like done this remix as part of one of the production modules. So I just totally blagged like, yeah, I did that, and I can I can continue to do that level of production, which of course at the time I could not. And then I really just kind of blagged it, and Simon kind of saw some of the songs had potential, just needed a bit of help kind of getting the sound together and meeting up with producers, and he started putting me in sessions and I loved that so much. I was like writing with all these incredible producers, like learning so much. Anybody who sits at home and tries to do everything themselves, I would really recommend that they go out because you learn so much off people who are like way better than you. So I loved that at the beginning. It was really inspiring and just an incredible moment.
The record label would have heard some of the songs that came out of these sessions?
Absolutely, yeah. So me and Simon, I think, probably about a year getting a couple of demos together. And then, signed to the first label that showed any interest, which in hindsight could have gone terribly. But
Thank God it hasn't.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's gone quite well. been a few bumps in the road here and there, but overall been a good experience. So, but yeah, that was very naive, I think. But I was just so ready to like do music full time, like no matter what. I was so ready to just get on and not have to work at that photo booth place anymore.
Yeah, totally. I can see that.
Yeah.
And we've got to talk about the song that changed your life pretty much overnight. A song that made its mark all around the world in the end, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
The amazing Leave a Light On. And I just like love the sentiment of this song. And I feel like it's one that will stay with people for a long time. You know, I'm here if you need me anytime. So what was going on for you at this point in time?
Well, one of my friends, like, I don't know, was just kind of going out a lot and losing himself and kind of drinking a lot. And I was quite concerned, you know, like it's really difficult to like tell an adult, like, don't do those things because like we weren't kids anymore. But I don't know, it was just like a few different instances where I was starting to get really, really worried about it and thought I was kind of like losing that person a bit. So I'd, you know, do what I do with most of the experiences in my life and poured it into a song. And it was really random because it was the first day I met Steve Mack, our first session.
Wow.
We wrote that song and cut the vocal and did all the piano in 5 hours, which was crazy. And then we spent a kind of year and a half going back on like the drums and the production. And also we wanted to wait for the right time to drop it because I'd done it live a few times and I'd seen it was like really connecting with people. And all of a sudden people are in the DMs like, where can we get that song? Like, when's that song coming out, you know?
Did you know when you made it that it had that real magic, or was it more when you were seeing people's reaction to it?
I thought it was a great song. I'll be honest, one of the things in it annoyed me, which is the motif in it that Steve wrote. And that came afterwards and I was like, I'm not sure about this, mate. I'm like, the chorus is just me saying, I will leave a light on. Is that enough? You know, is that complicated enough? And he's like, mate, simple as everything.
Yeah.
Just trust me on this one, you know? And then I wasn't quite sure about the little synth sound in it. So we went back and forward for a while, like getting it right. In hindsight, he was completely right and I should have just listened to him. But yeah, you know, it all worked out at the end.
And we should give some context on Steve Mack. I mean, he's like an incredible and prolific songwriter and producer, isn't
Absolutely.
he?
His CV is ridiculous.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Ed Sheeran, isn't it? It's like Clean Bandit, Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Did you just connect with him instantly then? It sounds like it if you made the song that quickly.
Well, I think we just sat on a piano. We didn't get into any production or anything. He's got this beautiful studio with a grand piano in it, and we just sat in there and hashed it out. And I was just telling him about what was going on in my life. This is like 15 minutes into meeting him. I'm pouring my heart out about this mate of mine that I'm really worried about. And it all just, I think those kinds of songs, it's not like you're like, okay, what are we going to be writing about today? I think it's like the story is trapped in your subconscious for ages. And like, you need to get it out, feel better about it. When I get pen to the paper and I can see the problem in front of me, I find that it really helps me like internalize it. And then I never thought the song would connect with people because I thought it was so personal to me, people aren't going to get it. But then, of course, it was the complete opposite. And out of every song I've ever put out, it's connected more than anything, really, because people found their own stories in the song. And
it's become an absolutely huge song, probably like bigger than you could have ever, you know, imagined.
It was crazy, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden we went from doing 300 cap venues in Manchester to doing a gig in Japan at a festival to 4,000 people who knew all of the words.
Wow.
And I was just like, how has this happened? You know, this is crazy.
What's been the weirdest place that you've heard the song?
I think people sending me the song when it's playing in like Bali or, you know, somewhere in Asia halfway across the world where I've never been. And they're like, oh, your song's on the radio. I keep hearing it out here. And I'm like, that's mad. Yeah, that still shocks me to this day.
Have you ever heard it playing out on the TVs?
Oh, do you know what got me the worst? The worst place I've ever heard it is just like in a toilet in a service station while you're on the toilet. You're just like, oh, this is weird.
It's my tune, actually.
Yeah, I know, but like, it's just not the time,
it's
really. It's not the time. From some like pathetic trebly speaker, you know, that's just like not doing it any justice. I'm like, please don't play my music in the toilet, you know, like put on some kind of like lift waiting music or something, like, you know.
But like we say, it had such big chart success. Then that Sony TV sync. You were the biggest selling UK signed act of 2019. Huge. What is it like though when you have a song go that big? Because obviously, you know, it's everything you've ever dreamed of since you were younger. But then I imagine this like new pressure properly kicks in and you're like, I've got to try and reach these heights again.
Yeah, well, I think it's like in any job, you're always trying to better the last thing you've done, aren't you? Which is kind of difficult because, I think the songs I've written that I really love on the same level as that song that haven't had the commercial success of that song. So it's where it sits in your mind of defining what is success to you. And definitely, like, when I started the second album, I hadn't quite worked that out for a minute. I was like, if the next thing doesn't do as good as this thing, it's a failure. You know what I mean? But I think then you start writing terrible songs, really bad, being like, okay, everything must be simple and have this prolific meaning that gets straight to the point by 25 seconds. And, you don't write good songs. And I felt like when I was in the early days of writing for this second album, I binned so much stuff because I was like, this just isn't it. And I felt like I was chasing like what you're talking about,
all that pressure on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just kind of lost myself for a minute trying to make this second album.
So what songs of yours do you feel like people have slept on a little bit? Obviously the real fans will have, given your albums time and connected with loads of the songs, but yeah, what are the ones you wish people would maybe like give a little listen to?
There's a song on the new album called Lifeline, which, it's me and my friends, we lost somebody really dear to us last year. It was very, we didn't see it coming at all. It was very, very unexpected. And I feel like I write about a lot of themes in that song that have affected other people in one way or another. And I felt like it didn't quite get the push that I wanted it to get when I released it. So yeah, if there's one song off the new album that I think I'm the most proud of, is definitely the lyrics in that song, Lifeline.
Agreed. That's a very, very important song. How do you write songs that are, so personal? Like you say, that's something really like difficult you and your friends have gone through.
Yeah.
Very much your truth. But how do you get that to resonate so well with other people?
Well, I think you can't think about that because the times where I've been like, everyone's going to get this, it just hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
So I just try and write songs that mean a lot to me. And those are always the songs that seem to connect. Like from the first album, Just You and I wrote one night when I couldn't sleep. It was 2:00 in the morning. I was in bed thinking, I really need to go to bed, but I've got this like chorus running around my head. I think it's those ones that feel really honest, that feel like they've been brewing in your subconscious for a while, that kind of vomit out of you onto the page. I think those are the ones that end up meaning the most to people. But when I have tried to sit down and be like, okay, I really want to write a song that everyone is going to get, nobody gets it. So I just try and be as honest about my experiences as possible.
From the comments on, your YouTube and your TikTok, fans really connect with certain lyrics. And like you say, you might not have written it for this reason, but they go, oh my God, that's explaining how I feel at this moment. Or, this is now me and my brother's song or whatever. And I guess that must be one of the best things about being a songwriter, when your music can then be like that comfort for somebody. Yeah,
it's really beautiful when people tell you stories about how your songs have soundtracked like really important or meaningful parts of their life. It's a really kind of beautiful thing. Like we just did all the in-stores for the new album and I met so many people, and you forget sometimes like what music can actually mean to people. It's overwhelming hearing like how much it means to people. There's definitely a few tears shed on the, like, especially the kind of, like we did some HMV in stores and meeting people up close and personal and signing the album and writing notes for them and all the rest of it. You hear some amazing stories that really caught me off guard, to be honest. And then those are the moments that I'm like, okay, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Because not every aspect of this job is peachy at all times. There is some really difficult, hard work, and you feel like you can be working ridiculously hard and getting nothing from it sometimes. So it's sometimes a real test of character, but those moments they make every little bit of hard work totally worth it. That real connection's what it's all about. Are there any fan stories that really have stuck with you? I mean, especially on the last insult, I met like a mother and a daughter who came into the queue like completely crying, and the mum basically said to me, "You have saved my daughter's life," and I was just like, "What?" And I won't go into the details of like what was going on in their lives because that wouldn't be right. But that really, again, just knocked me off guard, like completely caught me out. Like, these songs mean everything to me. They've saved my daughter's life, and thank you so much. And I don't understand how music can do that, but it is like such a powerful thing. That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. I feel really choked up for you. Like, yeah, no, I was like crying in the queue with hugging these two people I'd just met, Yeah. So it does get you, totally.
And Just You and I have spoken about a little bit. But I mean, what a beautiful song.
Yeah.
So great. Would have been played at loads of weddings. It'll be so many people's song. I mean, I can imagine you get lots of DMs like, go on, Tom, come to our wedding. Come on,
so
do
many.
it.
I could have cleaned up over the years charging to go to people's weddings. But I don't know. I feel really weird about like charging people extortionate amounts of money on their special day to play one song. You know what I mean? If you want to propose at the gig, by all means, come on down and I will sing it for you then and there.
Like, go on then.
Yeah.
And take us back to the moment that you wrote it. Like you say, it was kind of like very late at night and the feeling took you over. Were you like, I have to get this idea down?
I'm so glad I got out of bed that night because honestly,
imagine if you didn't.
I was so close to being like, I'll remember this and
whatever.
It'll happen tomorrow. But I was really lucky because I was in a house show at the time and there's this basement in the house. But it was so ropey down there. Like every time it rained, it used to flood and the water would come up through the floor.
Oh, God.
So I had to float all the studio gear like off the floor, you know what I mean? So I didn't get electrocuted. But it meant that at night, because it was a basement, it was like super well insulated. And even though it was in like a kind of there was houses next door, there was never any complaints. Me singing full whack at night. So I just went down there and thought, I'll just record the verse and the chorus and then I'll go to bed. And of course, I wrote the entire song in 4 hours. Like by the time I finished it, the sun was coming up. And I actually wrote it on piano, which is really weird because I didn't play piano at the time. And I just was kind of figuring out some cool chords. And then later when I came to do it, I figured out a really amazing guitar tuning, which is really strange. It's like C sharp, A, E, E, A, C sharp, which is like a real no-no. Every guitarist who I've passed that, I've been like, here you go, try it.
What?
They're just like, what the hell is this? I'm really proud of it because it was just such an honest record. And the fact that I managed to get quad VODs Now I'm Puking Up into a record that got number 3 in the UK charts is an achievement I hold very dear.
Yeah, incredible. And just one of a few love songs that you've gone on to write for your long-term partner and now wife, Annie. Yeah. And I feel like it must be so amazing having someone by your side that's been with you, through it all. She would have been there when you were struggling to get into music, the mad highs you now have with this job, but, also the pressure and the lows as well. Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it without her, honestly. She's such a rock in my life and just the voice of reason and can just see situations like really intelligently and like lets you speak as much as you need to speak, but then comes in with some absolute wisdom at the end when you need a little like, how am I going to sort this out kind of thing. And, when I met her, I was, working part-time for a photo booth company and giving out leaflets for TfL on cycling safety. And,
oh, wow.
And she just liked me for me back then, and we've been through this incredible journey together where she's in a really amazing career that she loves, that she's worked really hard to get into, and I'm doing the thing that I've always wanted to do, and we've been by each other's side the whole way. And to get married last year, it was like such a special moment. It was really beautiful.
It is the real deal. And also, you're the same guy I met when you were doing promo like way back, like the first time around. Do you think that's because of Annie and, your friends and family, your feet are still very firmly on the ground?
Yeah, she wouldn't ever let me get too big for my boots.
Yeah, too bloody right.
And my mates wouldn't either, they just wouldn't stand for it. And like, honestly, I'm just not really mates with like any celebrities. I just hang around with my mates and my missus and my family.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Every time I'm at some kind of red carpet event, I feel completely out of my depth.
Do you hate it?
I just can't do it, honestly. Like, I just feel... I don't know if it's like a, imposter syndrome or whatever, but I just feel like really tense the whole time I'm there. Like I'm not enjoying it, I love being in a pub with my friends. That is my happy place.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Have your friends or your missus ever had to check you? Like, has there ever been a time they thought, hang on a minute, you are maybe getting a little bit too big for your boots?
Yeah, I imagine there's been occasions. Yeah, absolutely. But nothing too major. Do you know what I mean? It'll be little things. Like my missus will be like, calm down. You've been a dickhead kind of thing. It's not like major things, I don't think.
What's been the moment you think your friends and family are most proud of?
Not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends came to watch me perform at Glastonbury to like 8,000 people. And that was like the year I'd, won a Brit and I did 6 gigs at Glastonbury that weekend. It was insane.
Wow.
And then a gig in central London on the Saturday for like the baseball, which was so random. And to this day, I don't know if they're still doing baseball or not, but we were there for one of the games. And so we were in and out, and it was so hectic and so crazy. And I don't know how my voice survived the weekend, because I just camped with my mates and went out and got absolutely messed with them, you know what I mean? And, you know, kind of kept it real until the Saturday night, where I was like, right, I'm going to a Premier Inn. I'm going to have a good sleep.
Going to rest.
And then I will wake up tomorrow, and I'll go and do the last gig, which was like the biggest gig on the Sunday. But that moment where I played that, and then we were at Arcadia, and I just played the John Peel stage. All my mates were there. We were all like crying. It was mad. Because it was just such an achievement. They've been with me the whole way. You know, it was just my mates and like the sound man at the early gigs, you know, no fans. So that moment, and then Andy C played the drum and bass remix of one of my tunes.
What? And you were there?
Arcadia. And I was walking back from the toilet with one of my mates, and he was like, "This is your tune." And I was like, "Is it?" And then I was like, "It is my tune." And then we like ran back to where all my mates were. Everyone was just sending it. And it was like the best end to the best day of my life, apart from my wedding, of course, with the lovely Annie last year. But yeah,
that was
amazing. Hard to top. It really was.
Yeah, Glastonbury, a special place, that is for sure.
Yeah.
Let's get into it then on the new music, because I know it's been a long road writing this album. Because I remember a while back you were posting that you were writing it, and then it was almost done, and then you basically scrapped that record, right, and started all over again.
Yeah. God, it was such a long journey. Honestly, the fact that it's out now, I can't be more relieved. Like, honestly, we made it. And I at one point didn't think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to give up and become a plumber or something, you know.
Did you honestly have that a few moments where you just thought, I just don't know?
I was so sick of writing music. The thing is, what labels and management sometimes don't understand, that is if all you do is music, it's just going to drop off a cliff, the quality of things. You need to have time to go and live your life, to have something to say. So that was not being honoured, really. And I should have just put my foot down more, because it was just work. To the point where I was so sick of writing songs, and I was so sick of making music. I just completely fell out of love with it. And I was just like, this is not making me happy. And that was like soul destroying for me, because it's always been the thing in my life that I turn to when I'm miserable to cheer me up, or if I'm really happy, to celebrate those events and write about them. So to have that kind of taken away, was, you know, it really put me into a bad way. And I think all the pressures of the success of the first album, and, you know, I think there was pressure on everybody at the label as well to be like, oh my God, we've hit gold here. Let's try and do that again, kind of thing. So I think all of that was just a bit of an unhealthy combination. But then I met the McDonough brothers, who I made the majority of this album, like 80% of this album I did with them. And they just completely reignited my love for music. Like, they are so talented, and their work ethic is crazy. It was like 11 a.m. till 2, 3 in the morning, like every day, 7 days in a row. The first week I was like, oh my God, I can't keep up with these boys. But they just eat, sleep, breathe music 24/7. And that was so exciting. I loved being in with them. And they helped me find the sound for like Burn and Head Underwater and Holy Ghost. And it's like these stadium sounds that I've been looking for, that are going to fill a festival site and, you know, get people like, what's that tune? I need to go over and check that out, because that sounds absolutely mental, you know. So I really got into my stride with them.
Yeah, I feel like you've done that really well. They're like arena ready songs, but they're still full of, you know, emotion and, you know, the realness that we've been speaking about. So how do you think they unlocked the best in you?
They turn an idea around so fast. You get to the end of the day and the song would nearly be done. And they worked in this crazy way that I didn't understand at first. There's like 3 producers in one room, all bouncing ideas between computers on AirDrop, and like going back and forward with these sounds. And like, one's got his headphones on and the other one's working on the drums, and then the other one's like, we're cutting a vocal. And I'm like, oh my God. And then somehow all the craziness just comes together. And at the end of the day, you sat there like, this sounds unbelievable. Like, how have you boys done this? It's like wizardry to me. And they managed to get some of the vocal sessions, like, I'm not gonna lie, like 5 hours of cutting vocals. Like,
oh wow.
Most producers are like, you go in, they're like, you're such a great singer, Tom, let's do 6 takes. And then that's done. They were like, no, better, do it again. do it again, do a falsetto version of it, then do an octave down, and then do 18 harmonies, and then all this crazy stuff. But then when I was getting the records back, I was like, oh, my voice sounds ridiculous.
You were like, actually, fair play.
Yeah, I was like, this was worth the, like, you know, I was going home thinking, I'm a terrible singer. I'm not good enough. This is normally never takes this long, you know. But they really got the best out of me and pushed me. And I really enjoyed that. It was like really invigorating.
How many songs do you think got binned before you hit this, you know, new stride and you were feeling really pumped?
70?
Really?
Maybe more. I reckon I've written 120 for this album over the last 5 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah. You know, do you know what I should have done as well in the lockdown? I like continued to write, but had nothing to write about because everyone was stuck at home. With,
yeah.
You know, I was just drinking vast quantities of red wine and being hungover most days.
Yeah, I feel that.
And, you know, none of those songs were any good apart from maybe 2. I should have just sat in my pants and played Xbox and been like, I'll take this moment.
And enjoyed the time off.
Yeah, but everyone was like, we've just, you know, we had #1 last year. We must chase and we must continue. And I feel like I'm just a bit wiser now. I'm just going to tell everyone to do one and just do my own thing, you know, because otherwise, what's the point? If you're not enjoying this job, which is an utter privilege to do, then something's going wrong. So, yeah.
I think there's something to be said in like our line of work, though, where people say if you take a bit of time off, then you're finished, aren't you? It's over. Yeah. Especially in music, it's like, what's the next single? What's the next thing? What's the next tour? What's the next moment? What's the next look? And
it's such an unhealthy
so much pressure.
View.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No, it definitely doesn't. And, you know, you see a lot of artists running into trouble and having to cancel tours and having to do all the things that they really don't want to do. The last thing an artist ever wants to do is let down their fans that have got babysitters and made time and paid money to come and see you do your thing, and then you've got to cancel it because people have pushed you and you have stupidly agreed to take on too much. So I'm just really keen to not do that going forward. You know, the last tour we were on, I took on too much. In the middle of the tour, I nearly lost my voice and I had to go and get steroids for my voice. And I don't really like doing that stuff. It's the first time I've ever kind of had to medically intervene with my voice to get through a tour so that I don't disappoint the fans. So, yeah, I just think you need to just take a breath sometimes and make sure you can do everything that you're doing and do it the best you can. You've
obviously learned a lot about songwriting as well. So when do you know when something's great? It's not just good, but you're like, this is it. This is something exceptional. Because do you not have like almost like a honeymoon period with every song you write? Because I get that with ideas I have. At the time, I'm like, this is great. And then the next day I go, oh, no.
It's when 3 months later, you're still thinking about it and you can still remember every lyric. And you're like, there's something in this song. I think that's the kind of key. But honestly, I'd also think I'd be like a terrible A&R man, like, because I do have these real romantic honeymoons with my songs where I'm like, this is the best work I've ever done. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, it's crap that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is really difficult, I think, to be objective about your own work sometimes. So, you know, it's good to have people around. But I always think my friends really like it. I'm like onto something. I feel like they've got a great taste in music, but don't necessarily listen to a lot of pop. So if I can get a song that's a pop song that they're like, this is real good, then I'm like, okay, I think I'm onto something here.
Yeah, you're like, you know what, I've smashed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, I've disguised this pop song as, you know, a real artist project.
So the album is called I Am.
Yeah.
And as the title suggests, it's more focused on you, isn't it? Your own anxieties and struggles and creative challenges. Yeah. So yeah, I imagine this was very therapeutic.
It was, for sure. I mean, the start wasn't. You know what? Once I found the sound and the meaning that we were looking for this album, basically once I started getting in with the McDonough brothers and we started getting successes, and not just me was getting excited, everybody around me on the team was like, we are onto something here. And we were looking for that feeling for like 3 years. And that's really hard, you know, to keep feeling inspired to go back into the studio when it feels like you're not getting the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, once the ball was rolling, we had the whole album so fast. Like, we wrote it pretty much in a week and a half writing session out in LA. They came back to the UK for another week and a half, and then we did, I think, 1 or 2 weeks on top of that, and that was what we wrote pretty much everything in. But once we had the first few songs and we knew what it was and we knew the direction, it just all came like that. And that was such a beautiful, exciting, relieving feeling.
Yeah, that must have been such a beautiful rush. And the first track from this project was quite the comeback, I thought. Like, people absolutely love the snippets of Burn on socials. And I was like, hang on a minute, this is quite a different sound for Tom Walker. Like, and that's what you want, isn't it? Going into a new project. Like the beat on it's great. It's got this like real like urgency to it.
Yeah.
Going to be unreal live as well.
It's so good live. We've been doing it and I've been getting the whole crowd at the start of the song to do this like call and response kind of Freddie Mercury style sing-along thing. And that has been so much fun. And just the drummer like beefed, the drummer Ali Thine, he beefed the production up and we made it longer and we did this instrumental section where the band just go nuts in the middle of it. And with a real drum kit, it absolutely bangs so hard live. Like it's so exciting. And that song is getting like the reaction that like Leave a Light On gets live, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I just think that's like so sick and so exciting and just a really beautiful thing. I can't wait to get out onto the script tour that we're doing at the end of the year and play these massive sounding songs in these massive arenas. It's going to be incredible.
Was it important for you then on this new album to actually stretch your sound a little bit and show what else you can do as an artist?
100%. And I wanted to do something completely different that I hadn't done before. I didn't want it to sound like the first album. You know, I'd rather die trying something else than do the same thing again to be safe. You know what I mean? And like Burn is so different from anything I'd ever done. And it's just really, really exciting. But the main reason I wanted to get these bigger sounding productions is because I didn't think about any of this stuff when I was writing the first album. And doing my own UK tours on that first album was an incredible, really awesome feeling. But festival season was like hard work sometimes because we didn't have that energy to like keep the set going because I hadn't thought about that in the first album. So now songs like Head Underwater, Holy Ghost, Burn, with like Not Giving In, Leave a Light On, Just You and I, like, all of that energy just propelled the set over the summer and we really stepped our game up for festival season. So yeah, it's a massive difference and it was nice to kind of think about that and then being like, yes, this has worked. You know.
And I want to get into the story of Burn because the way I saw it, it's kind of you just taking a massive swipe at the music industry.
Yeah, well, that's 100% what it was about. Well,
so hang on, how was this playing it to your label? You're in a room like this, big speakers. You play the song and they're like...
Well, I'd wrote it on that. It was the last thing that me and the McDonough brothers did on the second writing trip when they came to the UK. It was one of the last songs that we kind of finished for the album. And we only had 2 hours left and we had the verse of this song. And I was like, boys, we have to finish this. It feels like there's something here. But they were flying back the next day. Oh. And I was like, I beg of you,
please,
just be tired. You know, like you can sleep on the plane. And they were like, okay. So we finished the whole thing. But the reason I wrote it is because the record label had come in and listened to songs like Holy Ghost, Lifeline, and a few others that were, but they were really early demo stages. And I'd said to them, please don't come in. Please just wait until we have these finished and the vocals are cut right and everything's lined up because they were a bit of a mess and a bit of a mishmash. And they came in and they, can I swear on this podcast?
You can do whatever you want.
They shit over everything. And I worked so hard and just like was killing myself in the studio to get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
And I just lost it basically. And I came into the studio and I wrote that song the next day because I was like, fuck these guys. They don't get it. They don't get this project. And then it was probably the label's favourite song.
Was it?
That's why we released it first, because they were like, we've never heard anything like this. We love it. The energy, the fire, the passion, the everything. So fair dues to them, because they definitely know what it's about.
They definitely know it's a bit about them.
Yeah, and you know, they did, in fairness, come round to a lot of other songs once the demos were done and they were fully, and they were miles ahead of where they were. So sometimes it is hard to hear something when it's not fully finished. So credit to them. We've since made up, but I was so angry, and I think you can feel it in that tune.
Yeah, it's like a big old rant, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Probably why it was so easy to write, though. And there's a few other songs that are about, you know, testing times that you've had personally. Head Underwater being another one. Those kind of experiences, though, obviously always make you stronger. What's been the biggest lessons for you in your personal life and in music?
When the album finally came out, and that moment of we did this and we never gave up. I was so close to giving up. It was like really emotional, like to actually get to the finish line.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to pack it all in and like move up north and, you know, sell my flat in London and get, you know, a ridiculous house in the north for 20 quid. You know, and I just wanted to do something else because I just hated, I didn't feel good enough not being able to get this project finished. And I'd, you know, actually getting it across the line and being so proud of how it's turned out, and then meeting all the fans who the songs already mean so much to, even though they'd only come out that week, was just like such a life lesson in at least finish things and then decide what you want to do afterwards once it's done. To walk away halfway through, I think would be a mistake.
And you must be able to like back these songs with your chest, right?
I'm 100% sure that these were the songs that were meant to go on this album because I wrote about 100 other ones that didn't make it. So
we know they're the cream of the crop for sure.
Yeah.
Another standout track for me is Freaking Out. I love that you can like hear your accent when you sing in this song, because you can't always. I mean, that's great. And one that I could personally relate to, obviously with the ADHD line as well. And and just being like overwhelmed sometimes in those kind of social situations.
Absolutely. Do you know, I wrote that when we were coming out of the pandemic, and I don't know if everybody remembers that weird period of like, oh my God, I'm with people again. Yeah. And this is like really difficult. And no one's been up to anything. So no one's got anything to say to anyone. It's like, what have you been up to? Yeah, I've been at home, you know, drinking lots and being depressed. So I just found it really odd. Like I almost had like what I assume is a panic attack before the first gig. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous about going on stage. And I forgot loads of lyrics in my songs, which I never had done up until that point, and just really like found it difficult to do that. I don't know if because it'd been a year and a half, 2 years since I was allowed to gig and felt like I was out of practice. But so yeah, I really wanted to write about that experience because I felt like a lot of people must have gone through that in one way or another, trying to reintegrate into the new normal. But I also was keen to not mention the pandemic whatsoever because no one needs a song about the pandemic.
No, let's leave that in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
And you work with Fraser T. Smith on this song, who obviously is a legend in the game. He's worked with Adele, he's worked with Stormzy, and a producer called Stuart Price as well, who's in the credits, who's worked with people like McDonough and The Killers, like incredible production minds to work with.
Absolutely.
Let us in on the session with them then. How was it?
That song was such a nightmare.
Was it?
That was like version 7, and we combined our favourite bits from a bunch of different producers, like the vocal and a few parts from Fraser's version, and then got Stuart in to do like new drums and new piano. And oh my God, I really was like, I wanted to just be like, maybe this just isn't the song because we can't get it right, you know. So yeah, it was a real labour of love, that song, but buzzing the way that it's turned out. But also, it's really hard to play live. Like I've not found a version of that me and the band love playing yet. Like I didn't play it on the last tour because I just can't find a way to get the song to sound as good as the production that we end up with, and that's probably because we spent 9 months like getting that production. So trying to beat that live has been a real challenge. So I'm still yet to figure that particular song out live. And
vocally, you have pushed yourself on this album. Yeah. Some of your best songs, I think, for that reason. Like the end of I Am, I was like, wow. Yeah. And Holy Ghost as well.
Yeah, very spicy, both of them live.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just like needing your throat sweets.
Yeah. Well, we've taken them down a few semitones for the live gig, just so that if you're doing, you know, a 40-day run, you don't end up blowing your head off. But yeah, I mean, again, with the McDonough brothers, just the way that they pushed me and challenged me, because I was really like uncomfortable with doing falsetto, and it's only really the last kind of 2 years that I've really tried to get to grip with like doing bits of it live. But it just, you know, that belty thing always came so like easily to me because I'd been doing it for years, but I'd never tried to do that sweet kind of Sam Smith falsetto. My God, I've got such a different appreciation because that falsetto, belting it out like that is no easy feat, and it sounds so silky smooth and so delicious. And when I try to do it sometimes, Although I am getting better, you know, in the early days of learning it, it sounded like a bag of spanners falling down a large set of stairs. So I'm getting better, but we're not quite there yet on some of the songs live. But by the next tour next year, we'll be good.
From the outside, it seems like the most important thing to you is, you know, the music being from a real place.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to like fight for that to be the case? You know, obviously with lots of different people getting involved, whether that's, you know, managers or labels, have they ever tried to push you in like a different direction?
I think people have had a go at being like, we should put this song out that you've written, and I don't. Sometimes I'll write songs because I'll push things a certain way. Like I'll be like, is this too poppy for me? Do I want to go that far into this genre or this thing or that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll test that out and then everyone will jump on it and be like, this is the song. And I'll be like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure this fits with what we've done so far. I don't think it, you know, reflects the project and the stuff that's come before it. So that's caused a few difficult conversations over the years, but you know, you've got to back what you do and what you put out. And you know, I felt like when I was naive on the first project, I kind of let a lot of things get past me because I didn't want to disappoint anybody. And like, I think I've just, you know, a bit more wisdom comes out of that because you end up doing things that you don't necessarily feel like performing, or do you know what I mean? I was really keen. There's not a single song on this album that I don't like performing other than freaking out, but that's because I can't figure out how to sing it properly live. But once I do, I'll be happy to sing it and stand by those songs because I believe every single lyric on every single record on the album.
Oh, I love that for you. And that's important, isn't it? Like
Absolutely.
you say, because otherwise it's a label pushing you in a different direction.
Yeah.
And you're the one that has got to go on and sing that for years and years to come.
100%. And if something, you know, blows up in the way that Leave a Light On did and you hate it and you've got to sing it 3,000 times over the next 4 years, you're going to regret it. And I was really lucky that the two songs the kind of three songs for the first album that were the most popular, I really loved, and they were actually about things I really resonated and connected with. So I was keen to try and continue that onto the second album.
So in a world full of, you know, streaming, social media numbers, and, you know, the pressure a little bit of commercial success, what are your markers now of success?
Oh, the social media thing's really tough. I feel like we have put too much time into that and not enough time into writing. Because I was thinking at one point over the last 2 years that I'm spending 65% of my time doing social media here. Like, I am a musician. When I signed my deal, I didn't have a Facebook account. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have any of that stuff. So it's changed so much in the two albums that I've done, and we put so much time into that, and I don't know, I just think it's really unhealthy to spend that much time on social media, and I worry about artists that are coming through now who are defining success as like having a viral moment on TikTok, but you know, that's the way that the industry is at the moment. And things change so fast. Like, if you think about the history of the music industry, it changes every 5 minutes, and there's always a new thing. There's always a new format. There's always a new social media platform. So I think the songs have to stand up, and the time put into being a musician still needs to remain extremely high, because otherwise, just, you know, if you don't practice, you get rubbish. I need to be doing music. Otherwise, I get to a gig and I'm like, I've forgotten how to play this bit on the guitar, and I've not practiced it because I've been making TikToks, you know? There's not the one.
Yeah, obviously TikTok has really taken off for this second album era for you.
Yeah.
How do you find the platform in that, you know, you're getting instant feedback from people? Do you like that outside noise? Is it helpful? Is it sometimes distracting?
I think it's sometimes very distracting, but then it is helpful to see lyrically, especially the songs people are like finding their own stories in. So that is really cool. And it is cool to reach a much wider fan base. And it is an amazing tool for new artists, I think, to like, you know, get out there and promote essentially for free.
Yeah.
Like, and get their music everywhere. And if it does go viral, like, amazing. All the labels are begging to sign them. And like, I think that's really cool and it's amazing. But I also think it's quite sad. Like, when I signed my record deal, they gave me 2 years to like develop the music, the sound before we started putting anything out. And they've really played the long game. And I just don't think artists are getting that. They're like, oh my God, you've gotten into the top 10 with a thing that went viral last week. Before that, 5 days ago, you're working at a hot dog shop. Now your whole life has changed overnight, and please follow that single up immediately. It's just like crazy amount of pressure to put on people so early, and they don't get the whole playing a gig to 4 people in the sound man and all of that kind of stuff that on the way up kind of makes your skin a bit thicker and makes you battle hardened. And when the bad stuff does come, it allows you to deal with it a little bit easier. So I do worry about people, having this actual overnight success, because when people talk about it, for me, I was doing gigs for years with bands and all sorts of different stuff in music that really, when it made the difference when it needed to.
Yeah, it's nice you had that time to develop. Like you're saying, you were kind of ready when the success happened. I say ready though, you still struggle with it a little bit, right? Like when was the moment you realised like your life had like properly changed? Forever?
I mean, it's just like people recognise you on the street, but it's the weirdest thing where they look at you and they don't quite know who you are, but they know you. So I was one street I was walking down every day, and everyone was kind of giving me like, who is that?
Bit of side eye.
But didn't actually know who I was, but they knew they'd seen me somewhere and they were trying to work out where. And I was like, okay, this is getting a bit weird now. But living in London, absolutely sweet. No one cares. There's loads of famous people here. Adele's walking down the street, so no one cares about me, and that's absolutely fine.
We've delved into the moments that have made Tom Walker so far. What do you think like your future era holds?
Difficult to say, having just handed in my second album and got that kind of out.
You did it.
Yeah, I did it. So we'll see. We've got obviously the Script tour at the end of the year, which is unbelievable. So excited about that. Praying for Glastonbury. I would love to do it because I just love that festival, and me and my friends always have such a big team of people there when we can get tickets, which is getting so hard now. It's like crazy. So yeah, hopefully playing that at whatever stage, I'd be buzzing. And then we're going to Australia next year, which is super exciting. We've not been there since before the pandemic. I've got an American tour which starts tomorrow, which is really exciting because I've not been there in 5 years either. So yeah, lots of really exciting stuff coming off the back of the second album, and hopefully lots of lovely tours and gigs to come.
What are the Script like? Because you've toured with them before, haven't you?
So lovely.
Oh, that's good.
So lovely. Honestly, like I with my team have had to tried to blueprint how they treated us on tour with the supports that we have on our tour.
Oh, that's great.
Because they were so lovely to us when we toured with them back in 2016. So I'm so excited about that tour. It's going to be amazing.
Well, thank you so much
for
hanging out. Great to have you on the podcast. The very talented Tom Walker, everybody.
Thank you very much. Nice one.
Gotta be one of the nicest, most humble guys in the business. Thank you to Tom for his honesty, and thank you to you, as ever, for listening. Do us a cheeky favour, please, and leave us a comment or a review wherever you are listening to the podcast right now. This is a Good Karma production recorded at Metropolis Studios. Bye for now.